ABC and NBC, from what I've seen of them, they try to get it right. Fox News doesn't try to get it right. JRE doesn't try to get it right. They just say their favorite stuff. Yeah, dude, that's hugely influential.
Yeah, it is. And JRE like lets people on and then they chat for 3 hours. Like Joe Rogan
will have like non-political comedians on there, and he'll turn it into politics.
Joe Rogan is a liberal who got fumbled.
But you don't think Jon Stewart did that?
Of course he did.
You telling me what I think? What is it I think?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you think that, like, if Joe Rogan has people on, like comedians, and they have, political conversations, but and that has a perspective on it, isn't that what Jon Stewart did?
Jon Stewart called out Kamala far more than Jerry called.
Oh, no, I was talking about 15 years ago. Not.
Oh, yeah. Jon Stewart's obviously to the left. I'm not trying to pretend that he's like calling it down the middle, balls and strikes. He's not, right? Jon Stewart is an agent of the left, I would say. So there.
Yeah,
I like Jon Stewart. He's one of my favorite liberals. So is and I like Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
I think they've got when I listen to them speak, I don't think of them as agents for the left. I think of them as expressing their true perspective and like their truth. To put it that way, I think they're just being honest, and I think they're, especially with Jon Stewart, the way he went and got that money for those 9/11 workers and all those people that were affected by that poison. I appreciated that a ton because it's true. Like, look, we sent soldiers into gunfire, but all those guys didn't even know what they were signing up for. They didn't know the poisons that they were going to be exposed to, and the diseases and the problems they were going to face the rest of their lives. So why can't we handle their medical bills in this country? That was crazy to me.
Yeah, I think Jon Stewart is a good man.
Yeah,
so I like him.
And Bill Maher's fucking funny. I saw Jon Stewart defending Tony Hinchcliffe. Tony Hinchcliffe had the whole joke. They turned that into a campaign ad. There's a Kamala ad with him in black and white telling the joke. And they ran with that like that was going to do something. And Jon Stewart was like, to be fair, that's what he does though. And they played him roasting at the Tom Brady roast. And
that was influential for me. Like Jon Stewart said he was funny, and he's a roast comedian. And when I looked at it through that lens, I was like, yeah, it was it was definitely a mistake to put him on the stage. Like, they shouldn't have hired a roast comedian because he's gonna roast. That's what's up. But that's probably not a good way to win votes.
That was poor tactics.
Have you heard Tony Hinchcliffe's take on the whole thing post-election?
No,
so.
He's probably stoked Trump won.
He's incredibly stoked. He was stoked
stoked is the wrong word. Relieved.
Yeah, he was getting. I'm sure he was getting death threats and stuff. It was going to fuck up his career if Trump lost, and they attributed any small part of that to him. If the Puerto Rican vote had been 95% Kamala,
right, in Pennsylvania in particular, and flipped it, and
you're like those 30,000 votes would have changed the world, dude. You killed it. You killed us all, Tony. Yeah. But he's like, I have been watching a lot about Puerto Rico and how many of you may not know this, but they have an issue with their landfills. They're overfilling. And it's a real problem that I was trying to bring a little light to.
Is that? Oh my gosh, I didn't know the genesis. So I know Joe Rogan
cared about that.
Joe Rogan said that he told Tony not to tell the joke, which was probably good advice he should have followed.
He should have, but he went edgy with it, and I'm never gonna.
It worked out. I don't hold it against him.
Edgy with it. It's a funny joke.
For comedians telling jokes. I know.
You should be able to say, that's literally why I don't watch Bill Maher at all.
Okay.
And so this is from no perspective on his political takes. I hate his joke delivery. I've watched one special of his ever many, many years ago. That dude does not have it. There's a reason he's a talk show host and not a primarily stand-up comedian. That dude does not have it.
I actually agree. I think his delivery is terrible. I think his jokes are sometimes good, but I don't know that he's writing his own jokes. I suspect he has a staff that comes up with a lot of the stuff that I like. I do appreciate his stances because he pushes back on the left a lot when they do the stuff that I also think is stupid. Like, I'm closer to Bill Maher's views. Yeah, if you don't know him that well, for example, the left would apologize for abuse of women so long as they're Muslim. And he's like, what is that all about? Like, there's no way that you would be okay with this in America, but you're like, hey, burqas are cultures too in some other country.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, Bill's right. So
yeah, stuff like that. You're right, but he's gonna have to do some real heavy lifting to convince me he's actually funny, because
the show is funny. Like if you watch
it's like no, he's like when I do see clips, he's like doing that red meat style comedy where it's like, what's the name of that Fox News late night quote unquote comedy show they used to have?
Greg Gutfeld, the biggest late night show on television.
Yeah, and it's like, that guy's not actually being funny. Maybe he and Bill Maher, maybe they're funny guys. I bet if you hung out with them and you were just riffing, they're both very funny guys. But the jokes they're telling are just like, oh, did you guys hear the liberals are up to this today? What a bunch of retards. Like, that's basically what it is. And then you wait 4 seconds, you let people laugh, and then you make another smarmy comment that insinuates how much better you are. And it's like, that these aren't like funny jokes, though.
Well, that's what late night monologues are like, right? Like, you remember Leno and Letterman, and
I do not. I've never watched a second of Leno.
Oh, well, I've watched hundreds of hours of Leno. like I'd watch Leno almost every night. We were a Leno household, not a Letterman household. He was too mean.
Were they on at the same time?
Yeah, competed. They always competed. Letterman to me was the more adult and mean-spirited of the two. And Leno was the more goofy, have a good time kind of guy. That was the feel I always had for it. And then I always like Conan, though, because I like the really zany thing that he did.
And Leno was never political that I can recall. Like, I don't even
apolitical. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure he picked on. I'm sure in the '90s when Clinton was having his issues, he got some blowjob jokes thrown at him. But the way it is today, how
he didn't have an agenda.
The way it is today, like you've got Jimmy Kimmel crying on air after the election.
What?
Yeah.
God.
Oh, you know, Jimmy got a little cracked up. You know, he was.
Wait, what network is that on?
It's ABC probably. Jimmy.
It's on NBC.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah, it says The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, NBC.com.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy
Kimmel.
Yeah, Kimmel, Fallon, and especially Colbert have an agenda.
ABC.
It didn't used to be that if these late night campaign or shows had a leaning, maybe, but not an agenda. Colbert was like an agent of the blue team trying to help them win.
Yeah. Leno, I'm sure back in the day you'd have like Bob Dole went on both of those shows. You know what I mean? Like and had a good time with them. I'm sure they were kind to Bob Dole.
He lost weight.
Went on those shows.
What an embarrassing loser. What a fucking! Can you imagine being worth what he is?
Now show him in blackface, Zach. Show him in blackface now.
Show him in blackface as Shaquille O'Neal on the Man Show, which was a funny show.
It's Carl. It's Carl
Malone.
Carl Malone is doing
Carl Malone. When he and Adam Carolla were still doing a funny show on Spike TV.
The Man Show.
Yeah, the Man Show. I mean, I was like 14, but I remember.
Now I'm gonna cry.
You know, I'm okay with this, actually. Maybe does that make me racist? I'm like, man,
no, it makes him racist.
Let comedians tell jokes.
Dude, people say blackface is out of style. I say it never left. I say we bring blackface. We're bringing blackface back, folks. We're gonna do it.
Was he making fun of being a pedo?
Show the one where they're tricking. One of them tricks the woman into looking through that little telescope thing at the.
Oh, he's eating her butt.
While the other one like ogles her and like looks under her skirt and stuff. Oh, he looks better in blackface there as the woman. Is that an Oprah he's trying to do, or like? I mean, it kind of looks like
it would have had to have been Oprah. Think about the time it was.
Yeah, it's not Michelle Obama.
No, this was pre-Michelle Obama. It had to have been Oprah.
I mean, she existed, I'm sure.
And it works. Like, he's a little thinner than Oprah was at the time.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, he cried. And it didn't used to be like that to make your point. Like, they didn't. Leno and Letterman were definitely not these agents for the DNC, which I strongly feel like all of the late night guys are, except for Conan. Again, Conan is just like his own zany.
You'd say, right?
Apolitical always. Like
Jimmy Kimmel on ABC weeping over the loss of a Democratic candidate. Pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, tip of the hat. That goes to your point.
Yeah, it's lame. I just want entertainment in that space. But look, you go to Fox News to the most popular late night show at Greg Gutfeld, and it is so far to the right. It's further to the right than the guy crying over there is. Like it really is.
Fox News is a fucking joke. Like every single segment seems to be like, the Democrats are doing this. How's this going to impact our ability to give Israel $1 jillion. It's like,
I watch it. I try to help. It doesn't change my mind, but I hope that it helps me understand how people have the other opinion. Like that. That's why I watch Fox News.
I'm trying to think of a better like right-wing news source because like I hate Fox. I do not see my views represented on Fox at all.
I feel like
all the time. I love it.
Op-ed is it's such a tough pill to swallow. Like because they're all again tapping into that fight or flight response just to keep you hooked, to keep you coming back, get more impressions, get more ad revenue, like confirmation bias. And it's just it's so gross. It's like what the fuck happened to just reporting? Like, can you just give me some facts and like maybe trust that I'm smart enough to figure out?
Here's the secret, Richard. There was never just straight reporting.
Yeah, there was.
Well,
the dream of like, oh, that journalist in the 70s, like they were still influenced.
I don't think
it's nothing like
not like now.
They did their best. And here's what I want to get out, that there used to be a huge penalty for getting the news wrong. I think it was Dan Rather who falsely put out this letter about W's service in the National Guard, maybe something about avoiding the draft or whatever. And he presented it as real. He didn't know he fucked up. So it turned out that it was like they could tell it was a fake letter because it came off a word processor instead of a typewriter or something like that. But he fell for it, reported it as it was news instead of it being a prank or a mistake, and it ruined him. Like it became this really big deal. It ruined his name. It ruined his good. Like he got fired. I think it was terrible. Now, do I have the wrong person? Is it not Dan Rather?
No, I was just going to add on to that. Do you remember when Geraldo Rivera exposed troop movements during the fucking war live on TV? It may have been when we were first going into Kuwait, like maybe like Desert Storm was beginning or something like that, or may have been one of the we kept going back over there. I lost track, but it was one of those.
But when you fouled up and got the news wrong, it used to be you'd lose public trust. There was a penalty. Your ratings went down. You would get fired. It was a problem. Now, if you get news wrong, as long as I wish it was right, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot of.
Did you see the crew over at Morning Joe, who got to be the most vehement Trump haters in the world?
Yeah.
I think
is that the MSNBC morning show?
Yeah, Joe Scarborough and his wife Mika went to Mar-a-Lago.
I didn't know they were husband and wife. That's such a cool perspective change for me.
Check me.
You're watching this shit.
I watch everything. I want to know what people think and what they're saying. I want to stay well informed. Taylor, maybe if you were more well informed,
I don't think
the brave Ukrainians.
I don't think network news is the way to stay informed.
Okay, well, I want to know what's going on over there nonetheless. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to it. And over there, they are the most vehement Trump haters in the world, as far as I'm concerned. They've been calling him Hitler and the end of democracy every day for months and months and months. And then their show, like either yesterday or today, was like, so on Thursday, we made a request to the Trump team that, we'd like to sit down with him sometime. And on Friday, he obliged. And we did, in fact, sit down with the president-elect. And she's just like, and he was polite. He didn't shoot himself or anything. Like, she's having such a hard time expressing that we disagreed, but it's good that we touched base. And it's like, you bent the knee, bitch. You bent the knee, bitch. You crawled your ass down to Florida because Big Daddy wanted to talk to you. And I love that he immediately got back to her and was cordial and polite. But, when he got him behind closed doors, he's like, you guys don't like me very much, do you?
I agree with everything. I checked it, by the way. She is his third wife, so they're married right now.
That's cool. That's cool. I like a husband and wife duo.
Yeah,
that's what the Republicans need. They need a sexy blonde lady and her husband to be a dynamic Republican duo to combat that. And they just have
Morning Joe.
Yeah, to combat Morning Joe. Yeah.
the heavy hitters that they are.
Fucking Evening Steve, and he's always just happy and cheerful and showing like the good things in the world.
Dude, MSNBC is going to be sold.
His wife's really horny.
I'm curious.
You don't let her talk.
I'm sorry, Woody.
All I said was, do you think so? Like a hit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like their ratings are way too bad. The parent networks like NBC are taking ratings hits, I think, because of their association with like absurd propaganda on MSNBC, just hateful shit. And so like they are going to cut it loose because NBC is not going to jeopardize their ratings on the main network seriously tanking because of an association like this. Add that to the fact that MSNBC's ratings themselves are so unbelievably low that most not even hyper YouTubers, but just big YouTubers beat the fuck out of them in viewership. Like I'm curious to see who buys it and if there will be a total shift change in what happens. But it also is a thing of like I saw people being like, oh, Elon Musk is going to buy MSNBC and make it some news network. And it's like, why? Twitter is bigger than ever right now. People are like just the nature of people getting older, like boomers dying, people who got their news from TV primarily dying. Like the transition is towards social. And so buying MSNBC, even if you were some like Miriam Adelson style hyper right-wing Zionist person who wanted to buy that, like there's really no purpose anymore.
I don't know why anyone would buy it. Like to be buying, I'm sorry, Kyle, buying MSNBC is a little bit buying AT&T's landline business.
Yeah.
Like this or terrestrial radio. Like these are not the directions people are going.
Exactly.
MSNBC, I dislike their staff, their cast so much. Almost every host they have on there, I'm like, not this one. And even the better ones I think are below average.
You know, like
dude, if they really wanted to knock it out of the park, no shit, I'm not even joking here, they would fucking axe most of the cast and they would hire the Harry Sissons and stuff like that. They would just I'm not even joking, they would revitalize the youth kind of base. Like I think that would be the move if they were wanting to do it.
Youth doesn't watch network TV.
But I think at this point in time there are some shifts happening, and it could be a wild card. I think you could draw some in.
Maybe you're right, but from just a baseline impression perspective, genuinely a big TikTok account is more influential than MSNBC. Like social media is winning because it's more accessible and it's more real time, and so people are moving away from the kind of anachronistic antiquated view of because it's no longer the quickest. Like if you want to see something,
they're not taking Fox, they're not approaching it from a strategic point of view. They are, but a failed one, right? Because they're looking monolithically as network TV. Here's how we're going to do this. This is the way it's always been done. But if you leverage TikTok in a way that you build on top of the show, and you have layers that interact in different ways that you can't have one without the other, I think you would have a really good shot at driving ratings up, right? Because people are emotionally invested. They want these people 24/7. But if they had this kind of payoff for the network, I think they would tune in. I mean, they would still interact with the social component on TikTok and everything. But
I think what you're going to see is that like the networks are going to shift to the right to try to court that audience that is clearly more right, and they're not going to want to hear doomsday foretellers all day, every day on every single network. I saw Dana Bash, I think it is. She's the blonde lady on CNN. There's a Nazi turf war that flared up in Columbus, Ohio. You may have heard about.
What?
Yes, there was a Nazi turf war that flared up in the streets of Columbus, Ohio that you may or may not have heard about. You may have seen the black and red Nazi swastika flags and the masks and such. And Dana Bash was commenting on it, and she was like, no way really to tell if these are right wing or left wing Nazis. She literally said something like that. Like she refused to take like sides and it's been big flare up.
Yeah.
So,
did they have folds? Were there folds in the Nazi flag still or no?
They were like nice black. I mean, I can show you the video. They look nice to me.
I looked up the Social Blade stats.
Are you asking? Are you Alex Jonesing this? Do you think these are like crisis actors with folded flags, or I don't understand?
No, like the ones that you buy off Amazon and they still have all the creases.
They don't look creased to me. These look like they're well ironed.
I've never seen the red and black. That's kind of. I mean, look, I'm not going to become a Nazi because they've got a cool color theme now. But I'm just saying, I'm a little more tempted than I was yesterday.
So here's some numbers because we talked about numbers. I was curious. Fox News YouTube channel. Last month, these are in millions, 426. So 426 million. MSNBC 272. So a little more than half. CNN 173. I didn't expect it to be third.
Yeah, CNN's viewership is, I believe, older than MSNBC's, and so you have more like older Gen X and boomers who are on the left watching CNN. MSNBC is wholly irrelevant. Fox will. We're about to see a precipitous decline in Fox based solely on nothing more than boomers dying. Like that's what it, I'm serious.
I was going a different way. You know what? I think it might be, you know how when gun restrictions are about to get passed, there's hardly standing room in the gun store.
Yep.
But when everything's fine, you know, their sales are low. I think Fox News might be less interesting right now because they won.
And that's another good point.
I was holding off, and that was my point. I was like, if you were going to buy MSNBC, like now's the time to be getting ready to buy it for pennies on the dollar, because you've got 4 years of a Trump administration for those people to really kind of catch steam and whatever it is going to be. Yep.
Yeah. And that's true. But like liberals have been drifting away from MSNBC for a while towards either just online news or the main core CBS, ABC, NBC.
I want accurate news. I want my predictions to be right. I want my the things that I base my opinions on to be on target. Like accurate news is what I like. PBS a lot.
So you blame the news for the bet. You feel you were misinformed. Let us straight.
No. I blame me for the bet. I blame the news for making me think I was going to win on like November 1st.
And that's fair. I mean, if that's what you would expect if there was a large media apparatus.
Dude, they tricked me too.
Bias.
Don't worry, Woody. You know that bitch that led you astray retired, right? Like she was so embarrassed.
Ann Stelzer, that cunt.
Stelzer.
Yeah,
Ann Stelzer.
She quit in defeat. Like she was supposed to be the gold standard for polls. She says Kamala's leading Iowa by 3 points. 3 days before election day, and I believed it. And I was in here with you thinking like, fuck, I got to send this guy money. He's supposed to send me money. I'm so mad. On election night, I couldn't look on election night. I was watching police videos until I started getting hints that it was looking good, and then I switched over. I didn't want to take the defeat. I had PayPal pulled up on an iPad.
And then what happened? You pivoted from a perfect victory against Woody into the ultimate loss against me on the size of basketball hoops.
No, and I still stand by the fact.
And you know how I won that? Facts and logic.
No, not facts and logic.